All right, folks. Module 7, Reflection. We're here in the hallway of Brooks Gym Auditorium, a building built in the 1950s, and which currently serves as the HQ for a lot of things, including ROTC, the Reserve Officer Training Corps, women's basketball, volleyball, aerial dance, and bluegrass, old time, and country music studies. And these are the walls of time photo mural panels that Jack Tottle, I believe, assembled and put together and had mounted here as a celebration of the history of this music. And I'd like to have a closing reflection here on bluegrass, oddly enough, to cap off this week on old time music. Rosenberg considers named systems revivals as a way of dealing with unexamined assumptions. Revivals are artistic movements, and they also have this religious connotation. They seem always, in some ways, to also be ethical and moral movements. Rosenberg questions the appropriateness of the word revival, since the things being revived, quote, haven't completely died out. And number two, they're often made into something completely different by the revival process than what they previously were. And many of the people involved with revivals are outsiders who are reviving things novel to them. He continues, quote, revivalists perceive the music system as threatened, moribund, or underappreciated, usually for ideological and aesthetic reasons. And they believe it to be morally and artistically worth preserving. The reactionary rhetoric of revivalists, I think, is based in this concern with authenticity that is also then mixed in with this ethical and artistic blend that's already there. As with scholars, revivalists determine the terms of their engagement with the music system. And one good example is this term, bluegrass, which provided revivalists with a ready-made organic metaphor, as Rosenberg tells us, that helped to verify its own traditionality. At the end of this essay, Rosenberg examines two articles written by revivalists in the 1960s from Pete Kuykendall and from Rosenberg himself. In critiquing these articles for their romanticization of bluegrass musicians of the past, Rosenberg proposes that both articles, quote, link authenticity of experience with a lack of self-consciousness of tradition. But he concludes that these are arguments by revivalists against their own self-consciousness. Their skepticism, he says, is, quote, the first step away from a revivalist perspective towards a specialist point of view. Documents of a rite of passage in which an impossible revisionist past is safely buried and the revivalist is integrated into the specialist community as an activist. And think on that. Can you sense yourself becoming a specialist in music or other areas of endeavor, art, social involvement that are a part of your life? Are you an activist? Well, as the story eventually plays out, both Kuykendall and Rosenberg stayed with bluegrass. Other early bluegrass commentators like Ralph Rinsler and Maine Smith moved on and were no longer involved with that particular music. Rosenberg says that their views changed. Quote, our writings became more pragmatic as we expressed our continuing activist involvement in the music as an editor and a historian. He's talking about Kuykendall and himself there. I wonder how our views will change, you and me. How are they going to change as we grow older, as we grow more or less involved with various parts of these artistic movements in our lives? We'll just have to wait and see, right? Well, in the meantime, age gracefully, and I'll see you next time.